afternoon, this is Miss Young here. Today we're going through an AQA paper. It's paper 1 from June 2023. For those of you familiar with AQA, this is a handwritten exam, but they have 3 separate papers, one for Python, one for Visual Basic, and one for C#. I'm going to go through in 3 different videos the Python answer, the Visual Basic answer, and the C# answer. Now, as I keep saying in all of my videos, if you understand the code to write in one, then conversion from one to the other is relatively straightforward. And so we'll start with Python. Now, this is a question which is worth 8 marks, which, given that you have approximately 1.3 minutes per mark, if you were to use that as a guidance, then this is about a 10-minute question. And so that includes reading the question, understanding the question, and then writing the question. And so I'm going to go and see how long it takes us to do this. So I first of all will go and read the question out loud to you. So a group of people have a meal in a restaurant. Instead of one person paying for the whole meal, each person will pay for what they eat. Write a Python program that asks each person in the group how much they are paying towards the meal and works out when the bill is fully paid. Each person can pay a different amount. So the program should first of all get the user to enter the total amount of the bill, get a person to enter how much they are paying towards the bill, subtract the amount entered from the bill. If that amount is more than 0, output how much is left to pay and repeat until the amount left to pay is 0 or less. If the amount left to pay is 0, then output the message bill paid. And if the amount left to pay is less than 0, output the message tip is, and the difference between the amount left to pay and 0. And so, if you have any form of obsessiveness or neurodivergence, this is a silly question, and because we don't know how many people are eating, we don't know what their particular bill portion is going to be, so it's kind of an odd question. So you just have to try and relax, plan it out, and use these bullet points as a way to do that. So what I'm going to do is just use some simple bullet points. So the first thing we need to do is enter the total bill, and then we need to do some form of loop. Then we're going to need to do get individual payments, subtract from the bill, and then we can say if it's greater than 0 remaining, then we want to display remaining. Otherwise, if it's 0 remaining, display bill paid, and then finally print tip, or else print tip is. And we then can end the loop. And that essentially is, if we look at this, get the user to enter the bill, subtract from the bill, get the payments, subtract it if it's greater. So let's just work our way through this. So we can say that the bill is equal to inputs, and we can say enter the total bill. Now that will give us a string, and we have to make a decision here. Is this a real or an integer? And the reality is that if I'm paying for something, it's most likely going to have some form of decimal. So in Python, we can say floats, and that will give us the loop. Now, do we need to use a for or a condition control loop? Well, we don't know how many people are in there, so we can't use a for loop. And so we need to use either a precondition or a postcondition, but those of you that learn Python will know that there is no repeat until, so we need to use a while. A while. And I want to say, well, the remaining amount is greater than 0. And to do that, I'm going to just say that the remaining is equal to the bill. And so I want to now get the individual payment. But again, they should be allowed to pay in smaller amounts. So I would say that the paid is equal to enter your portion of the bill, for example, and then we can say that the remaining is equal to whatever was remaining minus whatever has been paid. And then of course now we can say, so if the remaining is greater than 0, what do we want to do? We want to print amount remaining is, and I would do extra of remaining, but it's also quite okay, well, in AQA it is to use a comma, bearing in mind that the comma will add a space unless we do say otherwise. And so we want to say else. So if we want to say print bill paid, and that's a lie. We want to say if remaining is exactly equal to 0, then we want to do that. Otherwise, we are going to need to say that the tip is, so we want to say that the print tip is, and well, the tip, what will the tip be? Well, if I say that the original bill is 10 and then I enter 4 and 4 and 4, remaining will be minus 2, so the tip will be plus 2. So we can either say, well, we can take the bill and we can say, well, let's just use the simple comma for now. It is either the remaining, which would be minus 2. So how can we do that? Well, we can do remaining and we can multiply that by minus 1, and that's the end of this if, and that's the end of this while. And let's see, that should be enough. What have we done? We've done that. We've said that the while remaining is greater than 0, because it has to be greater than 0, because if it is 0, we want to end. And if it's less than 0, we want to end. So that must be a greater than 0. So let's just try this out. Let's just try some simple numbers, 10. And so that would give me, I did 3, 4, and 3. That would be bill paid, so just perfect. And then if I did 10, as we said, 4, 4, and 4, that should say the tip is 2. And so we can see this code is working, and that took me, including reading it out, 7 minutes. We can do this in other ways. We can in fact just do minus remaining. I don't like to do that, but effectively let's just try that again. So we have 10 and 4 and 4 and 4, and the tip is 2. So that would be acceptable in an exam. In reality, if you don't want to write too much, AQA is not too particular about how much you write in here. And in theory, you can just say, we can get rid of all of this. I prefer to have a separate variable, but if we do and just use bill throughout, then let's just check that again. Run that. 10, 4, 4 and 4, and so we didn't actually have to use remaining either, and that's a nice 20 or so lines of code. And so that is how you could do this in Python, and in the next video we'll look at how we can convert this to Visual Basic. I've been Miss Young. I hope you found that useful, and I will hopefully speak to you later.